always so excited to come to you. So those of you that know, we've been on radio for 13 weeks. This is our second video show on demand. I got some new faces, so I've got to introduce you to some new faces. Please do not be afraid. If you're looking for Rochester J, he hasn't gone anywhere. I know some of you have become addicted to his Something Good segment, so you're going to see him. Just stay tuned with us. We've got another show format, and so Rochester J will be there. Jorgie Franks is coming back, so if you're looking for Jorgie, she's going to be there too. And as promised, I got another special for you. For all the business owners, we've got somebody that's coming on board and to be a new part of our crew. And they're going to give you some great business tips. I mean, just amazing. So stay tuned. We've got that show coming up for you. This particular cafe special is going to focus on education. So I'm going to introduce the people that you see here on the screen. We brought Bishop back, so I know you've always told me to keep Bishop around, so he's here as well. This is an opportunity for you to make sure you let your friends, your family, your neighbors know about this inspirational show. There's so much negativity that floats around on the airwaves. And so it gives me great pleasure to do my best to bring to you 30 minutes of fun, inspiration, and insight. And we're going to do just that. I've been told that I might be able to be a little part-time comedian, so we'll see if it holds true throughout our shows. Otherwise, somebody's probably going to email me and say, stay in your lane. But we're going to give it a shot. So we got 30 minutes of fun and inspirational insight. You can always find our shows at I've always had problems with this, but you know me, when I go live, I'm just authentic. I'm just me, and so you'll see us working all of our pieces together. But nonetheless, you can see all of our shows at Dr. D Greater Day Cafe. That's Dr. D Greater Day Cafe, DRD Greater Day Cafe. So all of our shows are always posted there, so you'll have an opportunity to see our shows as we broadcast them. Also, we've got Periscope going live as we stream. They get to see, Periscope gets to see the behind the scenes, so they don't always get to see all the fun fixings. But if you want a sneak preview behind the scenes, you can always join us on Periscope. Other than that, let me start introducing our guests. You're going to hear from, in just a second, I'm going to be introducing Dr. Craig Butz over there from Pepin Academy. Just wave at them. That's Dr. Butz over there. And then Mrs. Becky Burgue is with me today. I'm going to be introducing her. And then you guys know the bishop. He's going to come at the end of it and give us a little inspiration. So with that being said, it gives me absolute pleasure to really focus on education in this cafe. So every cafe segment will bring you different topics. This time I wanted to do education. So my first guest that I'm going to talk with is Dr. Butz. Hi, Dr. Butz.
Good morning.
Listen, I told him, I stereotyped you, okay? So when he came to the studio today, I was like, that is the coolest principal I've ever seen. So I stereotyped him, so I had to get over my stereotype so that then I could focus on the interview. So you are the principal of Pepin Academies right here in Tampa, Florida.
Yes, we're a public charter school. We've just gone in, we're going into our 17th year in serving the Hillsborough County area, and I'm in my 3rd year here, and so I'm loving it. We're having a great time. I think we provide a segment of students an education that they probably can't get anywhere else and that they really need. Absolutely. And they flourish with.
And it's really interesting you say that, because I wanted you to say something like that. I was just watching a news broadcast where they featured a school out of New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina really transformed New Orleans. And one of the things that happened in their K-12 system is that if the broadcast was accurate, that they've not been able to really cater to and hold a special place for what I guess some would call our special needs kids. And that is what Pepin Academies specializes in. And so although I know Pepin Academies is here in the Bay Area, I wanted to talk, because we have listeners from all over. And so I really wanted to encourage our listeners about looking for these types of opportunities. So what makes Pepin Academy so unique? What's the key behind your success with the students?
I think the key at Pepin Academies is that we have a sense of community amongst our entire school. Our kids feel like they belong to something special. They get to participate in things that they wouldn't be able to if they were at a large school campus. They're in athletics, they're in cheer, they're in student government. And these are kids with disabilities that were probably, kind of left behind in a large. They would be. They'd be off in a corner of the building. And that's not to say that a lot of schools don't do a great job with their kids with disabilities, but they don't get the opportunity to really be the big fish in the small pond. They are the little fish, if they're allowed to swim at all in a big school setting.
I love that metaphor.
And our kids, they have a sense of belonging. Everybody knows our kids. We have a small campus. All of the staff know all of the kids. They know them by name. The kids feel, I think, that they can trust the adults that are there. And they just have a sense of belonging that they wouldn't have in a traditional setting. And so one of our taglines is belonging leads to learning. And I think if you don't feel comfortable in your school setting, it doesn't matter what the teacher's giving you from an academic standpoint. You've got to first feel safe. You have to feel like there's relationships that are developed.
Burgue is over here. Amen.
Amen. That's right.
And I think once a student walks into our setting and that they feel that they're made to feel at ease and they know that the people that are there really care about them, they don't have to worry about being bullied. They don't have to worry about all of these different things that go on, wearing the fanciest clothes. Our kids wear uniforms. And so they come and their focus then becomes their academics.
Absolutely.
And
you
small
said
classrooms and all of those things.
But you said it so well. They get a chance to be the fish, the big fish, to swim with everybody.
Yeah.
In other settings, they don't always have that opportunity. Although I might not be diagnosed as special needs in the way that some of your students were. I was in the ESC program coming up, and so some folks know my story. And there were so many times when I felt like that little fish, because I was in the ESC at the time when they would call you out and you had to go to that special place. Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
You had to go, and everybody knew you weren't going to get ice cream. So everybody knew that. Everybody knew. Right, you said it. I didn't want to say it, but you're right. They even called it the boom boom class. I mean, you know, we had all of these derogative and discounting ways of addressing these students, and to know that there's this place or they can be the big fish and they can participate. Give us the list of some of the special needs that are a part, the students that are a part of your community, just so individuals can know that this is real.
Yeah, well, I mean, the bulk of our students are kids with learning disabilities of some sort or another. So they struggle with reading or they struggle with math, you know, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dyslexia. We have a lot of kids that are on the autism spectrum, generally higher functioning autism spectrum kids that are able to access traditional curriculum. They hit the same standards. 80% of our students graduate with a standard high school diploma, and a lot of them are going off to colleges and either 4-year or 2-year schools.
This is great.
But a lot of them would, I think a lot of our kids that are able to graduate with us would quit school if they didn't have an opportunity to feel safe and belong to something.
So let me ask you this last question, because I think it's probably about time for us to start segueing to Mrs. Burgue's piece here. For those that are not in the Bay Area, they're living in other cities around the country, how do they, is this uncommon? Because I know I heard the piece in New Orleans, but is this uncommon from city to city to have a charter school that specializes this? Do you think it's more common than not?
I think a school like Pepin is a very unique school because we serve kids that are both on a regular diploma track and on a special diploma track. I think a lot of the schools that you might see are more for kids with more significant disabilities. But if you're out there and you're struggling with, you know, where should I send my child to school and I need a better situation than what they're in, talk to the parents. Go sit in the classrooms and see how the kids, if the kids are all sitting there with smiles on their faces, eating it up from the teacher that's in the room, then that's the right place for your kid. If the kids that are in that school that have disabilities are made to feel a part of that school and are welcomed in that school and are able to participate in all the things that are going on, then that's a place that you can feel comfortable sending your child. But if you see that all of the kids with special needs are in one far corner of the school,
and that's the telltale.
Yeah, and they don't get to be a part of other things, then that's not the place for your child.
That's the telltale right there. Wow. Listen, I got a special treat, okay? This is a biased special treat because our family is a bit biased in terms of celebrating Pepin, because we've got a family member, my little niece, Zion. She's a student at Pepin Academy. So I promised her that I was gonna have an interview with her principal and I would give her a chance to say hello. So you gotta come quickly. She's gonna come say hi to her principal, because this is what it's all about.
Good morning,
there
girl.
you go.
How are you?
Woo!
You on TV?
She's watching herself on TV. Yay! Awesome. All right, folks, so that's the little feature. I just really want to do it because I think that is so special to know that all of our kids have a place, and we want to see more institutions, more academies like Pepin. And so with that being said, now I want to talk a little bit with Mrs. Becky Burgue. Hi, Mrs. Burgue.
How are you?
You're back with us. I know, yes.
Good to be back.
Yes.
Good to be
I know.
visual this
right.
time.
Visual, because you were on radio.
Right.
Mrs. Burgue was
a
on
joy.
radio with us, and so now you're back with us on video.
Great.
Video
Thank
on
you
demand.
for inviting me.
And so now your background as an educator has been in early childhood, right?
Right.
And so does it, what Dr. Butz has been saying, it seems like it's been resonating because you've been over here under your bed.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So tell me about your experience in early childhood. What were the highs, the lows, what made it work for you?
Well, I was a teacher in Hillsborough County for 36 years, and I always knew I was called to be a teacher, and I taught every age and every stage, from developmentally delayed to gifted. And here's what I know, and it's exactly what he said, that we are all much more alike than we are different. And that's what he's finding out at Pepin Academy. Those students are finding what they do well, and they're feeling good about it. And that whole idea of you have to feel safe, you have to, you know, that old adage of they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes, yes.
And that's exactly right. So I you know, for excess of 3 decades, I saw lots of curriculum come and go, and lots of ideas come and go.
Okay,
but
stop right there. So you've seen curriculum come and go.
Oh, yes.
What in your mind has been the key with one curriculum coming in, one going, one coming, one going? What has been the staple for you?
Well, the staple is that heart of a teacher. You know, we can talk all we want about Common Core, but this is the Common Core. It is the teacher's heart in the classroom. And if we cannot find teachers who love students and want to be there with those students. I know. And the students can tell that. I mentor teachers now, and I go in and out of classrooms, and I can tell within, there used to be 7 minutes. They would say, stay there 7 minutes, and you can tell if they want to be there. Now it's only 3. 3 minutes. 3 minutes, you can tell if that person in that classroom wants to be there, and those students can tell quicker than that.
Oh, yeah.
And so the goal there is I'm consistent, I'm there every day, I show up, which is a lot more than most of the people in some of our students' lives are doing. So we show up, we're there on a consistent basis, and we love those students. They have to know how much you love them. They have to know that you believe in them. I had students in all those years who are now teachers in Hillsborough County come back and tell me, you were the only one who told me that you loved me and that you thought that you believed in me.
After all that
And that hurts my heart because they had so many others who had that opportunity. And so we've got to find those quality educators who are there for the right reason. That Common Core is the heart of a teacher. You know, there's a line from the book The Bluest Eye where the child says, I just want someone's eyes to light up when I walk in the room.
Yes.
And there you have it. You have the power to do that. You have the power to satisfy that child's need.
love it.
Every child needs to be heard. They need to be acknowledged. They need to be valued. They need to know that they matter. And what's happening at Pepin Academies and what happened in my classroom all those years, I had students who would come back and say, your classroom was a sanctuary. Well, you know what that word means. It means a safe place.
Exactly.
That was a safe place. It was a safe place for me to fail. We have to be free to fail. We learn more from our failures than we do from our success. Let me say just a few words about early childhood, though. I'm not an advocate of full-day kindergarten because I think it's too long for that age child. Children need to be taught in a developmentally appropriate way, and we've lost the meaning of what that is.
Not enough play.
Oh, not enough play. Play is how children learn, and we
must
allow them to play. And if I go into a kindergarten classroom and I don't hear music and I don't see movement and I don't see children having a good time, then I know we're off to a bad start. And if we start off bad in that first couple years of school, they don't want to come. And then we lose them. And so we have to see play. When you go to Pepin Academies, when you would come to my classroom or a career and technical classroom where they've found their niche, they know that's what they want to do, then they succeed, then they thrive.
All right, so listen, she's given 2 very important nuggets. Heart and
all
play.
about heart.
Heart, internal, you've given us an internal key, and then she gave us an external key. That external key is play. That's the practical part of it. All right, so listen, I'm so passionate about this. You also have a women's ministry.
I do.
And we can find that information at BeckyBurgue.com.
BeckyBurgue.com.
Okay,
Yes,
so not only is she an educator, she's got a passion for women's ministries, women's services, and so her hands are full. She's doing a part 2 now, right? I love it. So I got to share this because they've put out some really interesting things. Dr. Butz talking about being the fish, or making sure that these individuals know that they can be a big fish. Mrs. Burgue talking about Burgue, talking about heart and play. I want to mention this before I segue into our inspirational corner over here, because I know Bishop, he's been amening like for the past 10 minutes, so I know he's got something floating there. I want to mention this, and I'm trying to be mindful of our time so I can move on. I invited you on because I heard, I was listening to an NPR special, and I probably can only sum this up in like 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, I don't know. But I was watching this NPR special back in July. It's from the show Ira Glass. So some of you that are NPR fans, you know Ira Glass out of Chicago. They did a special on education. The special featured a guest called Nicole Hans Jones, and they talked about a very important key that we're missing in K through 12. And I'd like to put that with what Mrs. Burgue has said about heart, about play, and what Dr. Butz has said about they gotta know that they belong, and they gotta, every kid has to know that they are a fish. One of the things that Nicole Hans Jones said on this after several years of research, and you mentioned it, Mrs. Burgue, going from curriculum to curriculum, there's one point in history where we almost closed the achievement gap in education. It was around 1988, and it was the height of integration. It was amazing what research showed, that regardless of what curriculum you use, if you don't have heart, you don't have some of these other keys like play, and if you don't have what we call integration, that means that no matter what zip code you come from, no matter what skin color you are, that when you come together, there's something about it. And she mentioned it. It wasn't really that magical, believe it or not. You know what it was she said happens when integration takes place? Resources.
Yes.
Resources. All of the resources come together. And so if you haven't watched that show, you have to watch it, because there's, you know, we don't enforce desegregation like we used to, but it was a powerful show. It's the only time in American history where we've just about closed that education gap. So I'm going to put the link to that Ira Glass special on my website, so you got to check that out. That being said, the bishop, and now I'm going to listen so they can tell me how much time I have left for this show. Give us your inspirational part.
I've enjoyed Dr. Butz, and I want to say Dr. Burgue.
Dr. Burgue. Well, she earned it. 36 years of teaching, she earned that.
You earned it. The component I think is missing so much in the education system is spirituality, which I interpret as love. If a child feels that you love them, that's energy. That energy is given and received, and they will perform for you. Every child born, as I've often said, is born with genius. He's a genius, or she's a genius.
Yes.
The problem is, how do we resurrect that genius? Every child born comes to gift humanity with something. Bach, Beethoven, or they come to gift us with the opportunity or the challenge to go beyond where we've been. In other words, creating new methods, new ideas, new technology to help them be the best they can be in this world that they live in. So every child born is a genius, but we can resurrect that genius in them by teaching them I am.
Yes.
I am great.
Oh, you mentioned this on the radio. You got to fill us in more. We've got time. They just told me in my earpiece we got time. So tell us about the I am and how we can take that into the classroom and so forth.
When you begin to teach the child his universal name, his sacred name, I am. I am what I say I am. I am great. I am awesome. I am fabulous. I'm a great student. When you begin to teach them I am, they begin to own that I am. There's nothing that child cannot achieve, regardless of what the disability may be. They will either gift us to challenge to help make their world a better world, or they will gift us with something like Beethoven with art or music or something. So when you teach them I am, I mean,
And we're teaching I am even when we don't know we're teaching I am.
Yes, we are.
This is what came to mind because I know you all have heard about the concept, the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's an
Yes,
old
yes,
concept
yes,
that's been floating around
Yes.
in the teaching methods books for a
Yes.
while, right? But this concept fascinates me because I was told that I was slow. I mean, it was very apparent to me. Matter of fact, my first grade teacher, they wanted to hold me back in first grade because they said I was slow. Now, I probably did have a few challenges, but when I took on that label, in
Yes,
other
that
words,
label.
you know,
That
they all
label.
yes.
That
When I
label.
took on that label, and because you know they say if you keep telling the child you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, what is that child gonna do?
Live up to it.
Live up
That's
to
right.
it,
That's
right?
right.
They're
That's
gonna
right.
live
That's
up to it, right?
That's right.
But if you keep telling them just the opposite,
Something positive
you're
about themselves.
great. You're gonna be okay. You can make it.
That's
So
right.
So every time we feed them, you know, a label or an outcome, we are literally giving them, you know, an I am. And I think that's what's so powerful because we're teaching I am when we don't even know we're teaching I am.
This is good for parents too, because sometimes parents.
I know you're
they-
amen in that.
Parents, we say so many negative things to our kids. You know, like we tell them all the bad things. You're going to be like your uncle. You're no good uncle. You're no good daddy. You're going to be a failure in life. You're stupid in life. You know, and if you say it long enough, they'll begin to play that part. They'll begin to act that out.
Yes. So the repetition and so forth, and you can fix your mic Bishop so they can make sure they hear you.
Okay.
The repetition of it, making sure that you're constantly programming. And it's amazing because we know this on the negative end because we do it, you know, even yes. You know, when you talk about social issues, whether it's, I know this sounds off topic, but whether it's domestic violence, you know, there's a mechanism to how that works. You have to get into that person's mind and wear them down about what you are not. And then they believe it. Because we look at people in domestic violence and we say, well, why did he or she stay so long? Because they what? They believed it. They believed it. And and they started to fulfill that prophecy on their own.
You know, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. What does that mean? That means we each have the ability to reprogram our minds or to reprogram somebody else's mind.
Retrain the brain, right.
Retrain the brain, retrain the brain. We all have that ability, and believe it or not, parents have that ability. We all do. Whenever you are engaged with someone, you have the ability to plant seeds, to plant thoughts in their brain, in their mind.
Yes.
And if you say it long enough, the law of redundancy is a very powerful law. If you say it long enough, we believe it. I mean, they tell us things all the time on the news, media, social media. If you hear it enough, reading in the paper, if you hear it long enough, you accept it.
Right. It must be true.
That's right. It becomes part of your belief system. So the challenge that we have sometimes is removing the blockage up here.
Yes.
We were all born into a system that's already been developed here on this planet, regardless of what part of the world you were born in. Muslim, Islam, Buddha, whatever. The system was already engaged. The problem is now that we know that, in other words, we have an awareness of that, how can we change the outcome? How can we turn things around? We turn things around by dealing with this up here.
Retraining the brain.
Retrain the brain by beginning to plant positive thoughts, positive seeds up here. Tell them what they can do. And encourage them what they can do.
Absolutely. This is one of the things that, you know, you mentioned earlier, Dr. Butz, your tagline. What was the tagline for Pepin?
Belonging leads to learning.
Yes.
Belonging. Now, see, somebody can say, okay, so we need a tagline. You know, we think sometimes very casually, we need a tagline. No, that tagline is important because that tagline is speaking to them. It's speaking to that retrain the brain because they're already coming in sometimes not feeling like they belong. And then they meet Dr. Butz and they meet everybody at Pepin and they start telling them that belonging is learning. You belong. Now that you belong, you can learn, right? I love it, folks. Woo! Those are some powerful nuggets. Yes. Listen, those are some powerful nuggets right there on education. I hope that you take them to heart. If you are a parent listening, I'm hoping that you start practicing with your children the I am. Tell them what they can do. We said it on the radio show a while ago because we were rehearsing the movie The Help. You were there, right? I is beautiful. I is smart. I is kind. And I know that grammatically that's not correct, but I'm telling you, if you tell somebody I is going to kill you, they start running. They don't try to, they don't check the grammar. They just start running. So tell folks that they matter. And a lot of times as parents, we can't tell, yes. And a lot of times as parents, we can't tell our kids they matter because maybe we don't think we matter. Right. Parents, you matter. Educators, you matter. To the children, you matter. Listen, this is going to bring this show to a close, but I have enjoyed being with you for another segment here. You can join me every first Monday night. You can join me every first Monday night. We do a teaching on positive living out in Land Lakes, Florida. So I know if you're not in the Bay Area, you can't be there live, but we do Periscope there too. So every first Monday night, except for holidays. So make sure, check the calendar. So we're there every first Monday night. And if you're already used to going to Dr. D Greater Day Cafe, if you're already used to going there's a tab right next door that says events, and events will tell you when we're hosting our Monday night teachings on positive living. And we rehearse some of this stuff, but we're able, it's an hour, so we can get more involved with you. And so think about joining me on one of those Monday nights to get some inspiration and so forth on many topics that we cover there. The other thing is every now and then we host a great camp, and we've got another one coming up. Great camp is for teenagers, preteens, and teens. Our next one is September 12th. So depending on when you watch this broadcast, September 12th, 2015, depending on when you watch it, you'll be able to sign up. Go to DavinaJones.com. DavinaJones.com, the law of redundancy. Yeah. DavinaJones.com. DavinaJones.com. And you can sign up for Great Camp. We had our first one back in July. It was incredible. Thank you, Attorney Barry Cohen here in the Bay Area. He underwrote, is that grammatically correct? Anyways, he sponsored it. He paid for it. And so we want to thank you, Mr. Cohen, for that. So we got another one coming up September 12th. So make sure you go to the website, DavinaJones.com, and you can join us for that. And we'd like to thank our sponsors. We have a main sponsor for this show. I like to call her Miss Q. She's our makeup sponsor, Mary Kay sponsor. Her name is Shaquita Laster. And so be sure to check her out. She's converting me to a Mary Kay girl. So she's making sure that we all look decent up here, okay? So check her out, and thank you to our previous sponsors and supporters, the testimonies from Dr. Fred over at Kingdom Chiropractic. Thank you. We're glad we sent you some clients. And also African Elegance Hair Braiding. We sent you some too. So those of you that would like to be a sponsor, go to Dr. D Greater Day Cafe, and we'll tell you how we can make that happen. Otherwise, thank you for joining. It's been a great day. Happy Greater Day. Woo! We'll see you next time. Bye. Woo! Yes, good job. Good job. Right there. Right there. Right there. It's okay. Dr.
I've ruined
Butz.
it.